we gonna start busting Deceptichops?
One of the oldest and toughest Autobots coming right up. I used to think Ironhide was the second in command of the Autobots. He's taller, he's red, he has a blue windshield on the chest, and he's stronger than the others. You know, just like his leader. And this next major release from Magic Square, which is still being tested for the moment, not only has all those features, it actually captures that Ironhide vibe. The masculine jawline, the blocky chest, the wide shoulders, and the beefy lower legs. He's a head taller than the Carbots and a head shorter than Prime. But it would be ideal if it could be just a bit taller. And the simplistic cartoony appearance fits perfectly in the current lineup. The red plastic used on Ironhide is just a tad brighter than Prime's red, the light gray is almost identical to Megatron's main color, and the windshield is painted in metallic blue rather than light blue on Optimus. The only other paint on the robot mode is a light gray detail on the chest, and the rest of the painted bits are just for the alt mode. And one thing to note, there's some paint under the feet, which might get scratched off over time. Instead of using paint, for some areas like the back and the shoulder blades, there are actually separate parts used just to break the red and create a more faithful look. Nice touch. And these details are obviously inspired by the Masterpiece version. And talking about MP27, MS Ironhide definitely has a very different body proportion. Wider chest, thinner midsection, and longer legs, a classic heroic look. Looking from the rear, it has wider shoulders, beefier lower legs, and a much cleaner back. Their side profiles are actually very similar, but because MP Ironhide has the shoulder offset too much to the back, making him look like having a huge belly. Overall, Magic Square nails the look of Ironhide, but if anything, he does look a bit squatted. I always use Optimus and Nemesis as bad examples of the plastic flash issues of Magic Square's molding. Those rough edges on Prime, especially the red parts, are pretty obvious. But this time around on Ironhide, on the similar red material, the flash issue is noticeably improved. The edges are much smoother now, and users don't need to trim anything like on Nemesis. Another thing is the transformation cuts are more seamless. These panels have similar shapes, but the gaps on Ironhide just look much better. All the joints are tuned pretty tight, the figure feels rock solid. And another welcome change is this guy comes with more useful accessories than average MS releases. Besides the default stoic face, there's another crying face, classic Ironhide.
Take cover!
3 pairs of extra hands. Open palms, grabbing hands, and pointing hands. They're all scaled down versions of Prime's hands. 2 different pairs of nozzles he uses in the cartoon. A radar dish, which packs onto the side of the forearms instead of the front, so it's not an eyesore like on MP27. Lastly, a rocket launcher that goes onto his back. I also noticed there are a few extra pack holes of the same size in the crotch and under the feet, but they're not compatible with either the Tamashii Nation or Sigma stand, and they're smaller than we used to hold the magnets on Megatron. Bringing New Age Ironhide for a quick comparison, and as you can see, in 3 years' time, these third-party companies have added more incredible sculpt work to the already amazing transformation, bringing us the more definitive versions of the characters we love. No hollowness, much fewer pins and gaps, and of course, stellar articulation. Ball-jointed head raises above 90, so Ironhide could even pose like he's swimming. There are 3 separate joints in the shoulders, which get the arms lift over 180. 360 arm rotation, bicep cut as usual, single joint elbow that goes over 90, and hands rotate. 360 waist rotation. The ab crunch is just a bit below 90 and it also bends back. And what has become the new standard leg joint that goes about 120. A side kick over 100. And what's interesting is they're not even side skirt armors. The leg kicks back just about 10 degrees. A very well hidden thigh cut, just like Prime. 180 degree knee bend, also standard MS business. The ankle joint is very limited. It only has a 90 degree tilt, with no other articulations. And lastly, the toe rotates as part of the transformation. This little guy's articulation is on par with the current record holder, Optimus Prime. And with those face and hand options, this Ironhide is alive. And now, let's see how it transforms. The transformation of Ironhide feels much like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. It's by no means overly complicated, but it does take a bit of extra effort to transform compared to the average Carbides. And when I first got him into the vehicle mode, I thought it was a bit off, especially compared to the New Age version. But when I compare it with the G1 artwork, it explains everything. The flat front face, the more squared look, the position and size of the yellow stripe, and even the panel lines on the roof are all following this artwork. But of course it does look a bit longer, especially on the rear end. So once again, for the alt mode, New Age has the toy look, while Magic Square has the cartoon look. Ironhide always suffers from the panel gaps in the van mode, and MS Ironhide is doing just fine with a little bit of help from the material they use. With similar rubber tires like on Optimus and Hound, this vehicle runs pretty smoothly. Transforming it back to the robot mode does have some tricky steps. I put it into a separate video so that this one doesn't get too long. Ironhide is a super popular character, and I'm very glad Magic Square put their best effort into creating this figure, giving us the combination of the outstanding articulation, ingenious transformation, and the most critical part, faithful representation. Besides a few minor issues, I believe this is by far the best cartoon Ironhide. In just a couple of months, I got myself a pretty decent Legend Scale collection. It feels very much like collecting the masterpiece figures in its golden age about a decade ago. Exciting, enjoyable, and satisfying. It's really a good time to collect Transformers. And with that, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.